a billionaire, a teacher. 72 hours to choose between $42 billion or true love. What he does next will shock you. They thought they could buy her off. They had no idea what he was about to sacrifice. This is the most emotional story you'll watch today. Julius Grant's fingers hovered over the send button. The email would finalize the acquisition of DataStream, a cloud infrastructure company valued at $847 million. One click. That's all it took anymore. He remembered when decisions like this kept him up for nights. Now they happened between sips of his third espresso. His corner office on the 42nd floor of the Prudential Tower looked out over Boston Harbor. December fog rolled in thick, swallowing the waterfront buildings whole. His reflection stared back at him from the glass. Dark skin, close-cropped hair threaded with gray at 38, a Tom Ford suit that cost more than his mother's first car. He barely recognized himself some days. "Julius, they're ready for you." His assistant Melissa appeared in the doorway, her voice tight. Something was off. She wouldn't meet his eyes. The boardroom felt different when he walked in. 8 people sat around the conference table, but no one was looking at their phones. No one was laughing at something Marcus, his CFO, said. Marcus wasn't even smiling, and Marcus always smiled. David Chen, his largest investor, sat at the far end with his hands folded. The man's face could have been carved from ice. "Sit down, Julius." David's voice cut through the silence like a blade. Julius remained standing. "I scheduled this meeting to discuss the DataStream acquisition." "What's going on?" "We need to discuss your personal life." This came from Sandra Whitmore, who controlled a $200 million stake through her venture fund. She slid her tablet across the table. The screen showed a photo, him and Leah, leaving a coffee shop in Dorchester 3 days ago. Someone had zoomed in tight. Her hand was on his arm. She was laughing at something he'd said, her head thrown back, her teacher's lanyard still around her neck. His chest tightened. "You're having me followed." "You're not just Julius Grant anymore," David said. "You're Grant Tech. You're a brand. A $34 billion brand that we've invested 8 years and considerable capital into building. I'm aware of what the company is worth. Then you understand why we're concerned about optics." Sandra pulled the tablet back. Leah Mitchell, public school teacher, makes $54,000 a year. Lives in a triple-decker in Dorchester. She's careful. The word came out quiet, but everyone in the room heard the warning underneath. Sandra's jaw tightened. "She's not appropriate for someone in your position. The merger with Apex Technologies is 3 months away. Do you have any idea how much scrutiny we'll be under? Senator Walsh is already calling for antitrust hearings. We need you looking like a serious businessman, not..." "Not what? Say it." The silence stretched. Marcus shifted in his seat. Jennifer Coe, his head of operations who'd been with him since they were coding in his apartment, stared at her hands. David stood up. "Julius, you built something extraordinary. You came from nothing. Roxbury projects. Mother-cleaned office buildings. You got a scholarship to MIT, dropped out, and turned an algorithm into an empire. You're an inspiration. You're on magazine covers. Black kids see you and think they can do it too." He walked closer. "But that image requires maintenance. It requires sacrifice. Strategic partnerships. The right wife from the right family who understands this world." "The right wife?" Julius's laugh had no humor in it. "You mean the right color, the right address, the right tax bracket?" "I mean someone who fits the narrative we've built," David said. Alexandra Richardson was perfect. Tech investor, Stanford MBA, family connections in Silicon Valley and Washington. You two were together for 3 years. That was the plan. Alex and I broke up 8 months ago. Because you've been seeing this teacher. Sandra pulled up another photo. Leah at the community center in Grove Hall where she volunteered. Leah at the grocery store. Leah leaving her classroom at the Frederick Douglass Academy where she taught 5th grade. Someone's been busy documenting your relationship. Julius's hands curled into fists. His heart slammed against his ribs. "This is my private life." "Nothing is private at your level," David said. Here's reality. We've received calls from 3 board members at Apex. They've seen the photos. They're concerned about cultural fit, about judgment, about whether you're focused on business or playing savior to some girl from the old neighborhood. Don't talk about her like that. The Apex merger will make Grant Tech the 3rd largest tech company in America, Sandra said. Your personal stake alone will be worth $42 billion. Billion, Julius. But if this deal falls apart because you can't keep your personal life appropriate, everyone in this room loses. Our funds lose. Our investors lose. The 3,000 people who work for Grant Tech and depend on their stock options lose. Marcus finally spoke. Jay, man, listen. Don't. Julius held up his hand. His oldest friend, the guy who'd believed in him when the algorithm was just sketchy code on a whiteboard, and he was sitting there silent while they did this. David moved to the window. We're prepared to make this easy. We'll set Ms. Mitchell up comfortably. A consulting position. A nice severance package. Enough money that she'll never have to work again. She signs an NDA, you make a clean break, and in 6 months we'll introduce you to some appropriate candidates. This doesn't have to be ugly. You're trying to buy her off. The words felt like gravel in Julius's throat. We're trying to protect an 8-year investment, Sandra said. And your future. Think about it. You could fund 1,000 schools with the money from this merger. You could change 1 million lives. Isn't that worth more than one relationship? Julius looked around the room. At the people who'd made fortunes off his ideas. At Jennifer, who wouldn't look up. At Marcus, whose jaw was clenched tight. At the glass walls and the leather chairs and the stock tickers running silently on the screens. I need to think, he said. You have 72 hours, David said. Apex wants an answer about your commitment level. About whether you're serious about this merger or distracted by personal entanglements. After that, we start exploring alternatives. Alternatives. Don't make us vote you out, Julius. Don't make us do that. The words hit like a physical blow. His company. His code. His vision. And they were talking about removing him like he was an employee who'd violated the handbook. He walked out without another word. In the elevator, his reflection stared back from the polished doors. The suit, the watch, the tie clip that cost $3,000. When did he become someone who wore a $3,000 tie clip? His phone buzzed. A text from Leah. Still on for dinner? Made your favorite. His fingers shook as he typed back. Wouldn't miss it. But standing in that descending elevator, watching the floor numbers drop, Julius Grant knew something had just broken that couldn't be fixed. The empire he'd built, the mountain he'd climbed, the version of success everyone told him to want, it all felt like it was crumbling. And the only solid thing he could think about was a woman who taught 5th graders how to write essays and volunteered at a community center and made him laugh until his stomach hurt. The elevator doors opened to the lobby. December wind hit him as he pushed through the revolving door. His driver waited at the curb, but Julius waved him off and started walking. He needed to think. He needed air. He needed to figure out how he'd gotten to a place where the people around him thought they could price the woman he loved like she was just another acquisition to be managed. His phone rang. David Chen. He let it go to voicemail. Then Sandra. Then Marcus with 3 texts in a row. Call me back. We need to talk. Don't do anything stupid. Julius kept walking through the financial district, past the food trucks and the tourists and the construction sites. Past the expensive restaurants where he'd closed deals and the hotels where he'd given keynote speeches. The fog was getting thicker. He could barely see 2 blocks ahead. Maybe that was appropriate. Because for the first time in 15 years, Julius Grant had no idea what came next. If you're feeling this story right now, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and drop a like. You won't regret it. Trust me, what happens next will blow your mind. Now, back to the story. Leah's apartment was on the 3rd floor of a building that had seen better days. The stairs creaked. The hallway smelled like someone was cooking collard greens and cornbread. Julius could hear a baby crying through one door, a television blaring through another. He'd grown up in places like this. Sometimes he forgot that. His board wanted him to forget that. She opened the door before he could knock. "I heard your footsteps." She smiled, but it faded when she saw his face. "What happened? Can I come in?" Her apartment was small, living room, kitchen, one bedroom he could see through the open door. Student artwork covered the walls. Drawings of families and houses and dogs. A bookshelf overflowed with paperbacks and teaching manuals. The couch was old but clean. Everything was clean. She'd lit candles that smelled like vanilla. "I made lasagna," she said. "But you're scaring me." "Julius, what's wrong?" He couldn't speak. He just pulled her close and held on like she was the only thing keeping him from drowning. She let him. Her arms went around his waist and she pressed her face against his chest and waited. "They know about us," he finally said. "They've been following us. Taking pictures." She pulled back. "Who?" "The board. My investors. They had photos, Leah. You leaving school. Us at the coffee shop. They know where you live, where you work, how much you make." The words tumbled out. "They want me to end this. They offered to pay you off. Set you up with money and a fake consulting job if you'll sign an NDA and disappear." Her face went through several expressions. Shock, then hurt, then something harder. "And you said." "I walked out. But they gave me 72 hours to choose. The merger with Apex depends on it. If I don't end things with you, they'll vote me out. Remove me from the company I built." Leah moved to the window. Outside, the street was getting dark. A city bus hissed past. Someone was shoveling their steps even though no snow had fallen yet. Regular life. Normal life. The kind of life Julius had spent 15 years climbing away from. "How much is the merger worth?" she asked quietly. "That's not." "How much, Julius?" "42 billion. My stake alone." She let out a breath. $42 billion. And I make 54,000. She turned to face him. "Do you know what I could do with $42 billion? Do you know how many schools I could fix? How many kids I could help?" "Don't do that. Don't make their argument for them." "I'm not making their argument. I'm being realistic." Her voice cracked. "I'm a teacher, Julius. I live in Dorchester. I shop at Market Basket and I drive a 12-year-old Honda Civic. Your tie probably costs more than my monthly rent. I don't care about any of that. But they do. And maybe," she stopped, "maybe they're right. Maybe I don't fit in your world." He crossed the room in 3 steps. "You think I fit in that world? You think I belong in boardrooms where people have me followed and try to buy off the woman I love?" He grabbed her hands. "I hate that world, Leah. I hate what I've become. All the fake smiles and strategic lunches and carefully managed public appearances. When I'm with you, I remember who I actually am. The poor kid from Roxbury. The person who wanted to build things that mattered. Not just make money. Not just be on magazine covers." He squeezed her hands. "You remember me from high school. You knew me before any of this." They'd gone to the same school, Boston Latin. He'd been the scholarship kid who was brilliant with computers. She'd been the girl who helped everyone with their essays and volunteered at the library. They'd talked sometimes, shared notes once or twice, but they'd lived in different worlds even then. He'd been so focused on getting out, getting ahead. She'd been focused on giving back. They'd reconnected by accident 6 months ago at a community center event in Grove Hall. He'd gone because his PR team thought it would be good for his image. She'd been there because she volunteered every Saturday. They'd recognized each other immediately. Started talking. Exchanged numbers. He'd expected nothing. Rich people went to charity events all the time. But she'd texted him later that night about a student who needed a computer, and would his company donate old equipment? He'd driven to Dorchester himself with a laptop. Met her at the center. They'd talked for 3 hours about education and inequality and all the things his money could actually fix if he used it right. She'd challenged him. Made him think. Made him laugh. He'd been hooked immediately. "I love you," he said now, in her small apartment with student drawings on the walls. I've loved you since that first night at the center when you told me my charity model was trash and I needed to listen more to the communities I claimed to help." She laughed through tears. "I didn't say it was trash. You absolutely said it was trash. I said it was well-intentioned but structurally flawed. That's what trash means in teacher." She put her hands on his face. "Julius, I love you too. But I won't let you throw away everything you built. I won't be the reason you lose your company. It's not throwing it away if I'm choosing something better. $42 billion means nothing if I'm miserable. Means nothing if I'm surrounded by people who think they can control me like I'm their puppet." He pulled out his phone. "I've been thinking about this the whole walk over. What if we did something crazy? Crazier than walking away from billions? What if I signed over my shares? Created a trust. Put the company in Jennifer's hands. She actually cares about the mission. Then I'm out. Free. We take whatever money I have in personal accounts and we do something real." Leah stared at him. "You're serious?" "I'm tired, Leah. I'm so tired of being their performing monkey. Their inspiration story that they can package and sell. I want to wake up next to you. I want to work on things that matter. Education. Opportunity. Actually helping kids like we were." He pulled up his email. "I can draft the transfer documents tonight. Have my lawyers file them tomorrow. Julius, marry me." The words hung in the air between them. Her eyes went wide. "Not some big society wedding that my board can manage and photograph and turn into a branding opportunity. City Hall. Tomorrow. Just us." He was shaking. "Marry me and let's build something real. Something they can't vote us out of or acquire or destroy." "This is insane." "I know. You'll lose everything. I'll lose nothing that matters." She kissed him. Hard and desperate and real. When she pulled back, tears were streaming down her face. "Okay. Okay. Let's burn it all down." They spent that night drafting documents. Julius called his personal lawyer at home, not the corporate attorneys who answered to the board, but Rebecca Chen, who'd handled his will and trusts. She asked if he was sure 17 times. He said yes 17 times. The transfer was complicated but achievable. His shares would go to a trust with Jennifer Coe as executor and primary beneficiary. The trust's mission would focus on education technology and opportunity programs. Julius would retain no voting rights, no board position, no executive authority. He'd walk away with his personal savings, substantial, but nowhere near billions. Maybe $200 million in liquid assets. Enough to live on. Enough to build something new. "They're going to fight this," Rebecca warned over the phone. "David Chen will lose his mind. Let him." At 9 a.m. the next morning, Julius walked into Grant Tech headquarters for the last time. He'd called an emergency board meeting. They filed in confused, David, Sandra, Marcus, Jennifer, the others. All dressed for corporate battle. "I'll make this brief," Julius said. He stood at the head of the table but didn't sit. "Effective immediately, I'm transferring all my shares to a charitable trust. Jennifer Coe will manage it. You'll receive the formal documents within the hour." Sandra's face went white. "You can't." "I can. My lawyers confirmed it. The shares are mine to allocate." David stood up. "This is about that teacher. You're destroying a $42 billion deal over a woman who—" "Stop talking." Julius's voice cut through the room like thunder. "You want to know why I'm doing this? It's not just about Leah. It's about the fact that you people thought you could buy her. Buy me. Control who I love like I'm some asset you own." He looked at each of them. "I built this company to create opportunity. To prove something. To matter. But somewhere it became about stock prices and acquisitions and managing my image. That's not why I started coding in my apartment." Marcus finally spoke. "Jay, man, please. You sat there yesterday and said nothing while they threatened me. You're my best friend and you said nothing. I was trying to protect you." "From what?" "From being happy." Julius shook his head. "I'm done. The company's in good hands with Jennifer. The trust will do real good. And I'm out. He walked to the door. Turned back. Oh, and I'm getting married today. City Hall, noon. None of you are invited. The silence behind him was deafening. Leah met him outside Boston City Hall at 11:45. She wore a simple blue dress. No fancy gown, no designer anything. She looked beautiful. Her sister came as a witness. Julius asked the security guard in the lobby to be the second witness. The man looked confused but agreed. The ceremony took 8 minutes. A clerk read the words. They said, "I do." They signed the papers. They kissed in a municipal building that smelled like floor cleaner and copy machines. Julius's phone exploded with calls and texts. David Chen. Sandra Whitmore. Reporters. Someone had leaked it already. Stock analysts. His mother called crying, confused. The business media was going insane. Headlines were already forming. Tech billionaire walks away from empire for love. Grant Tech founder gives up billions in shocking exit. They turned off their phones and went to the same coffee shop in Dorchester where the photos had been taken. Leah ordered a regular coffee. Julius got the same. They sat by the window and watched the city move around them. "What now?" she asked. "Now we figure it out." He took her hand across the table. "I was thinking, a foundation. Real education reform. Not charity galas and photo ops. Actual work. You know what schools need. I know how to fund and scale programs. We could make a real difference. With $200 million, we could change a lot of lives." Exactly. His phone buzzed even though it was supposed to be off. A text from Jennifer, "You're insane. Also, thank you. Also, the board is imploding. Also, I promise to honor what you built. Call me when you're ready." Another text. "Marcus, I'm sorry. I should have said something. You're my brother and I let you down. I quit this morning. Let's talk." Julius showed Leah the messages. She smiled. "You've got good people. I've got you. That's all that matters." That night they went back to her apartment. Their apartment now. He'd left the Prudential Tower penthouse with nothing but his clothes. The building in Dorchester felt more like home than anywhere he'd lived in years. They ordered pizza. Sat on her old couch. Student drawings still covered the walls. Through the thin walls they could hear the neighbors arguing, a dog barking, life happening all around them. "Are you going to regret this?" Leah asked quietly. "In a year, in 5 years, when you see what you gave up." Julius pulled her close. "I gave up being miserable. I gave up being controlled. I gave up a version of success that was killing me." He kissed the top of her head. "I gained everything." The next morning they started writing a mission statement for what would become the Grant Mitchell Foundation for Education Equality. They worked at her kitchen table. She made coffee in a Mr. Coffee machine that had to be at least 20 years old. He'd never tasted anything better. The business world kept exploding. The Apex merger fell apart. Grant Tech's stock dropped 18% in 2 days. David Chen gave angry interviews about fiduciary responsibility and emotional decisions. Think pieces were written about Julius's choice. Some called it romantic, others called it reckless. Julius didn't read any of it. He was too busy planning tutoring programs with Leah. Too busy meeting with education advocates and community leaders. Too busy being happy. 3 months later, the Grant Mitchell Foundation opened its first learning center in Roxbury, 2 blocks from where Julius had grown up. They didn't cut a ribbon or invite politicians. They just opened the doors and let kids come learn. Leah taught writing classes after her school day ended. Julius helped with the technology programs. They worked side by side in a converted warehouse that smelled like paint and possibility. One evening, a 10-year-old girl approached Julius. "Are you the guy who gave away all his money?" "I gave away my company," he corrected. "Not all my money. We still have plenty." "Why'd you do it?" Julius looked at Leah across the room, helping a student with an essay. "Because I found something more valuable." The girl thought about this. "That's dumb. Money is important." "You're right. Money is important, but it's not everything. He knelt down to her level. What do you want to be when you grow up? A doctor. But my mom says we can't afford it. What if I told you that programs like this one exist to make sure kids like you can become doctors? That's what real money does. It doesn't buy fancy cars or big houses. It buys possibility. The girl smiled. Can you help me with my math homework? Sure. That night, walking home through Dorchester with Leah's hand in his, Julius Grant felt richer than he ever had in the Prudential Tower. The empire was gone. The billions were gone. The magazine covers and the keynote speeches and the carefully managed image were gone. But walking up 3 flights of creaky stairs to an apartment full of student drawings, coming home to a woman who challenged him and loved him and made him better, that was worth everything. That was the price of everything that actually mattered. If this story touched your heart, smash that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. Lagos, New York, London, wherever you are, I want to hear from you. What would you do if you had to choose between billions and love? Let me know. More incredible stories coming your way. Don't miss out. Subscribe now.